film showed on a very large screen in a baseball stadium.
Yeah, we saw the pictures of the stadium. We were like, oh, this is going to be so cool. I wish we could have been there in person.
Your
Yeah,
next
it was so
film,
fun.
we expect you to be here.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we were looking into it. We were so desperate.
Yeah, we were really trying. We were Googling it all, like, would it be possible? But it just wasn't possible.
All right,
Yeah.
we're ready.
Oh, cool.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another Reading Film Fest Q&A. We hope you enjoyed the feature presentation of Soundtrack to 16. As always, I'm Jack Vichnevsky, and I'm joined by Chris Woodward, Associate Director and Juror Manager. And we are also lucky enough to be joined via Zoom all the way from Germany by the Shakespeare sisters, Hilary Shakespeare, Director, and Anna Elizabeth Shakespeare, Writer of Soundtrack to 16.
Hello. Hey.
Thank you so much for coming on. And of course, if the audience members have any questions, please just step up to the microphone. But just to get it started, I'd just like to ask what the origin of this project was. Did you pull this from your experiences as a teenager?
Yeah, it's quite a lot based on our experiences, really. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not like exactly the same thing happened to either of us, but a lot of the kind of a lot of the kind of individual scenes and stuff were things that happened. Like they were like, we used to like you this much, now we like you this much. Like that basically happened to me, and everything kind of. Yeah, I think most of the scenes kind of came from things that had happened to us that kind of inspired it.
So I just have to tell you right now, your voices are over a ball field, and we can hear it echoing out here in the outside area. So the first thing I want to say is when I watched your film, and it went to the end, the first thing I thought about was I want to see their next film. I couldn't wait. So we usually wait until the end, but I'm really excited. What's your next project?
Ooh, okay. So the film that we are in post-production with is based on a Shakespeare. Well, actually, it's a Shakespeare play, and it's Much Ado About Nothing. And we've kind of done. It's kind of similar to Soundtrack to 16 in that it's teenagers, and it's kind of coming of age teen take on it. And we kind of set it in a similar world, but it's Shakespeare, so it's kind of a mash of the two.
Yeah, it's got the proper Shakespeare dialogue, so it's quite like Shakespeare dialogue, but in a modern world. So that's kind of fun.
Well, he's...
And, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, yeah, a lot of the bits that were kind of to do with like war or stuff like that, we've kind of set in like a university setting, so they're slightly older than the teens in Soundtrack to 16. But yeah, they're kind of like a bunch of university rugby kids. And so, yeah, hopefully it'll be quite fun.
Well, it played well tonight, and as I mentioned to you before, I watched your film with some young people, and they really, really got it. They saw themselves in the characters. They saw their friends in some of the characters. So it came off very well with our audience here and other audiences.
So speaking of the... Oh, sorry. Speaking of the young people, I thought the actors, especially Ben and Maisie, were really just fantastic. I was wondering what your approach was directing a whole cast of young people. Was it a challenge, or was it easier because they were really receptive?
This was our first film, so it was the first time we'd ever directed anyone. So in a way, there wasn't a lot to compare it to. But I think actually it was easier than being younger because I didn't have a lot of experience in film, and I was slightly scared of anyone that had more experience than me. So with the cast having, like, I guess also being kind of first timers in, like, at least in feature film, I think that kind of helped in a way, just feeling kind of confident around them and like directing them. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, the rest of the crew had done, things before, and they kind of guided us through it, and that was really great as well. But yeah, I think, well, you directed, but so, and I was like, oh, I'm answering it. But yeah, no, we were pretty good friends, and actually because Hilary was directing it, I had a lot of time to just like hang out with people. So
Yeah,
like,
and I make friends with them.
yeah, I just spent loads of time hanging out, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I feel like everyone was really easy to work with.
For me, the tone of the movie was really set in the beginning as you're following Maisie and Ben through the street, and they're having that inner dialogue. Was that something you planned right from the beginning, or did that come up during writing? Or
Yeah, we planned right from the beginning that that would be the case, but we did rewrite quite a lot of the voiceovers, like in post-production, because, I mean, yeah, basically we kind of, all the voiceovers we have, we planned to have them, but we didn't, yeah, we basically, when we were doing the post-production, we were kind of like, oh, this is an opportunity where we can rewrite them a little bit to kind of cover the holes of things that we thought seemed like problems when we were in the edit.
Like bits that were not that clear. Sometimes we kind of brought to the surface more with the voiceovers. And actually on the last day of shooting, we just like shot loads of like bits of them like walking down the streets together or walking down the streets on their own. So we were like, we have all this backup footage if we want to put in a voiceover anywhere. And then we did put one in that we hadn't planned, which was the one where he's thinking about how he doesn't like Nathan and how he's like threatened by the other.
If the world ends, what would I do?
Yeah.
That voiceover, that was kind of like, we just had this shot that was kind of cool, and we were like, we also kind of want to use it. And then also we kind of wanted to have like something that makes it clear that like Nathan is his motivation in ignoring Maisie, just to kind of underline that. So,
yeah, because that was really useful. Like, the editor didn't understand that bit of it, and then I think because like being like writer director duo, quite often there's things like that we'd miss between the two of us because we write together, and then that was one of the things that he said, like he didn't think that was very clear, so that we added that afterwards. But the intro I think is pretty similar to how we wrote it.
Didn't change a lot. It was more later on.
Little bits changed, I think, here and there, just to smoothen it out, but that was pretty similar probably.
Something that I thought was really fresh about the film is the separation of the two main characters. For a good portion of the film, you really flesh out their characters and develop them before they mingle with each other. What was the idea behind that?
I guess we just really like character. I mean, everything we like is stuff that's really character driven and about getting to know people. I guess, yeah, I suppose that part of it is probably just what we like ourselves and other things.
I mean, yeah, I guess not having them meet earlier, like, I don't know actually, like, what kind of motivated that, because I think, like, I guess we kind of had like the individual storylines for each of them, and we only wanted them to cross over when they were influencing the other one's storyline. So it probably came out of that.
I think also I kind of had an idea of who they were as people, and I just really wanted to get an idea of like Maisie's kind of desperation, like, and her being really lonely, you know, before she meets somebody that's right for her. And if she'd met him earlier, I feel like she would never have been that lonely, you know, there would always have been him.
Yeah.
So I think it's like knowing, I mean, I know there's kind of like a small section, I guess, you can normally have of the ordinary world of like, this is what they're like normally, and now things have changed. But I think for this story, it kind of needed longer in that world before things changed. I mean, partly because it is quite a mild storyline. It's not like a crazy amount of stuff happens. It sort of is just them kind of growing up a bit as people and learning a few things and making friends.
Bumbling through life.
So yeah, so I guess in a way it just needed a bit longer in the kind of normal life, kind of to see why they needed each other. Yeah.
So I had a question about the cast. Did you write for the main characters, or did you have auditions for them? And the second question is if you could talk a little bit about financing for young filmmakers and how you went about that.
Oh, sorry, what was the first one again? Oh yeah, auditioning. Yeah, no, we wrote it first and then we auditioned. So we just posted on a bunch of casting websites basically saying that we were doing auditions, and people came to audition. And then I think actually like Scarlett and James, they were like they really stood out. We were really pretty sure about them quite early on.
Yeah.
So it was actually quite an easy process for us.
But I think those characters both changed a lot because they kind of became like the people, like in terms of actually like visually how I picture people as well.
Yeah, we imagined them very
different. The people
different.
we cast were really actually different from like what I had in my head when I was writing it. But then I think what you kind of get is this amalgamation of the two, like the actor and your character, which comes out really nicely.
Yeah, it's such a fun part of it because it
Like-
sort of
like
like
we
takes it
always
to a whole new
thought-
level. It's like I think also it's good to have that because if you're a writer and you keep you're always going to write slightly similar characters to yourself, I think, or you're always going to be like biased towards people you know and yourself. So then when the actor brings something new to it, it's like, that's good. They've changed the character, so now I can use that character again in a way.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
going to say that one of Ben's best friend, we wrote him to be like German, and he's kind of like in my head he was like a lot more German, but then like Sean, who plays him, was such a like British lad, and I think it still kind of makes sense because I do know people like that who are German and English, but yeah, it was such a different character to how I pictured him, but I really liked having that character in there, and he came out like, yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
In terms of financing, we basically it's a super low budget film, and we don't want to give away the budget because well, like with trying to sell it and stuff, it's not something we necessarily want public, but yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to know, they can contact us personally. But it's just, I mean, basically what we did to get this film made, because it was our first film, is just we called in a lot of favors, and we made it with friends, and like all of the locations are kind of like our like families' homes or friends' homes, and our old school. And
yeah, we also like wrote it in a way that we could shoot it. So we got permission to use our old school as the school settings, and some people don't realize this, but Maisie and Ben are supposed to go to separate schools, so we used half of the school to be Ben's school and half the school to be Maisie's school, even though they're actually the same school, and then gave Ben's school uniform and Maisie's not. So so that was one set, and then which was kind of like the hardest one to get, but actually it wasn't very difficult. And then and then as Hilary said, like shot in places we could use, and did a lot of like guerrilla shooting. So the bus scene is all just like guerrilla shooting. Like we just rode around the bus route a lot of times.
Yeah.
And actually we didn't. Yeah, did you get stopped on the bus route?
Oh, the bus. Yeah, we did get a bit stopped. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I feel like, well, London transport is quite hard to shoot on, but I don't know if it's the same in America.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't actually know if it would have been that hard to get those permissions, but either way, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
I mean, everyone says they don't give them though, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah.
But with that, we just we did actually ADR all the bus stuff, so that kind of really helped. I mean, yeah, before we did that, it would kind of have given away the budget, like that one scene. But that was the one bit we did the ADR. And I think, we got really lucky with sound generally. But yeah, we did a lot of shooting.
Yeah, we got really lucky with the whole crew, really, because we produced it with this guy, Ben, and he basically just got a bunch of people he'd already worked with that were kind of his friends to be the crew. So, and they all did a great job and kind of taught us because it was our first film, they kind of taught us along the way what we were doing in a way, because they all knew what they were doing more than we did. So, yeah.
And also with like post-production, I guess, in terms of like ways to do things cheaply, we gave everyone like loads of time. Like it was always like, we got the companies that did the post-production would always say like, oh, if anything else comes up, it's like commercial, we'll put that first. So the post-production actually took a really long time. But they kind of just did us on like the back burner, which is how we got that done cheaply as well.
Great. My next question is, so the title of the film is Soundtrack to 16, so I wanted to ask about what the process of the music curation and the composing was like.
want to
Yeah.
say? Okay.
Yeah, so we just well, so for I think we did all the soundtrack first before we did the score. And we just put did we put ads out? I think we
Yeah, we just
stuff
put
out
ads
everywhere.
out. And we put some Facebook ads up, and we put.
Oh, I remember
we literally like pasting adverts in the street.
Yeah, I think we did that like in Edinburgh, maybe Edinburgh Festival or something.
Yeah.
We only got one person off of that though, so I learned from that
Facebook ads were a lot more effective.
Yeah.
Basically, we just posted that we're looking for artists that kind of own their own music and were willing to let us use it. And a bunch of people replied, and like loads of people sent us their music, and it took us a really long time searching through all the music to find what fitted. And then I think we've got like music that fits really well. And I mean, basically, we kind of wanted music that felt really like noughties kind of. I guess what kind of inspired the film in a way is all the music that I used to listen to when I was 16, which was all kind of like skater boy kind of like noughties music, which is kind of. But we kind of wanted to find. We wouldn't have been able to afford the kind of famous songs that were inspiring it. So we kind of wanted to find music that had a similar vibe. So and I think we managed to, which was really lucky because we really had no music budget. And then. And yeah, then the score was done by these composers called Savage and Spies, who I can't remember how we found them. I think they got in touch. Yeah, they got in touch with Ben, the producer, and they were great to work with. They actually composed for like The Human Centipede, so they'd done quite a lot of horror before, but they hadn't done much. I think like coming of age kind of stuff. So they were kind of interested to try something new, and yeah, that was really. We really liked the music for it. It felt really.
Yeah,
right.
and I think like in the temp score we had kind of this like slightly sad temp score, and like I don't know, like the whole movie felt a bit off when we watched it with that, because it would be like they'd be having their VOs and it would be quite light stuff, and then this like sad score would be in the temp, and then when the composers came on, they were really good at being like, we need something like playful and light and like happy here, to kind of just make the whole film a bit more feel good, and so that they brought that to it, which was really good.
Question about how you work as sisters. We have, past 3 years, we've had 2 brothers who have submitted, and we've shown 3 of their films here. And as I watch them, it's like there's one brain, and they just kind of go back and forth. So do you work like that on the set, or do you separate, you're doing the directing and you're doing the writing, or is it collaborative on the set?
It's pretty collaborative. I mean, Soundtrack to 16, I directed it, but even so, I was still taking quite a lot of direction behind the scenes from Anna. Just I was the one relaying it to the actors mainly. And then with Much Ado, we co-directed it, so that was very like just subbing in and out for each other constantly. I mean, I think we both have our strengths. Like, I tend to be the one to like take the more kind of technical aspects, and Anna takes the more kind of like practical, like human aspects.
I don't know. I mean, that's not always true though. I think it's also like who has more energy on the day. Like if someone's like dipping, then you kind of want to make up for them, which is like, I'm always really thankful we have 2 of us, because I think if it was just you and you're fading and no one's there to like back you up, it'd be so hard. I think most things we would have discussed beforehand, and then it's kind of like little changes that we're making.
We're pretty aligned in our kind of creative visions for stuff. I think we've got a lot of the same kind of like inspirations and I guess references.
I mean, we have the same taste, I guess that's because we watch all the same stuff and we like all the same stuff basically.
So there's not that much disagreement creatively, so that's kind of good. And when there is, it's a slight tension.
It's always confusing when there is. Yeah.
There's always like okay. But then we just deal with it.
Then we kind of have to think about it for a second, but yeah.
So what do you think the young audience should take away from your film? Why are these teenagers so mean, and how should the younger audience deal with that when they're growing up?
I think teenagers are really mean. I guess I don't know what everyone's experience is like, and I guess it might be different, like the American high school experience, or like also we both went to a girls' school, so we kind of know the girls' school experience. People are very mean. I'm not sure what the solution is. I guess it's like if you find the people that you fit in with, that is the solution, but you can't really say that because what if you don't find them, you know?
I guess Maisie kind of leaves them, which is
Yeah, she makes a mistake.
fatal
Don't leave
mistake.
them if you find someone that you get along with. Stick with them.
Do not leave them. Yeah.
I mean,
don't
it's
know.
hard.
I mean, yeah, I sometimes think like there's not that clear of a takeaway of like, this is what you should do, or yeah. But
I feel like I should have something. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, I guess it's almost like be more mature than them, but you're a teenager too, so I don't know how much you can expect of yourself.
Well, I guess also, actually, I think one really important thing, which you kind of have in the film, is like having relationships outside of school is like so good, because it just gives you like a perspective that, if you have friends outside of school, or like Maisie when she's close with her sister, I think then you're just in so much of a like stronger position that if you lose your friends or they're mean to you, it's not like your entire world. And I definitely had that. Like I had like a friendship group that's probably kind of similar to Ben's. Maisie making friends with Ben, that's like a really good thing that she gets, that just kind of changes her world, because it's just like a tiny.
Actually, I'd say one thing which is kind of the same, I guess, kind of what you're also saying, which is not necessarily not school, but if people aren't making you happy, don't just accept it and sort of stick with it. If you're unhappy, that's not good enough, try and make new friends. So I think that kind of happened to me a bit, where I got stuck with some people I didn't like, so yeah.
Well, I really loved your first effort, so hopefully we're going to get to see some more films from the Shakespeare sisters.
Thank you.
And where can we find more about your upcoming films, and where can we get some updates?
You can follow us on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah,
It's where
that's a good one.
probably our most up-to-date updates. It's Shakespeare Sisters Film, which is also our Facebook. And yeah, we have Twitter, but it's slightly less up-to-date probably. It's like Shakespeare Sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the places.
Well, great. Hillary and Anna Elizabeth Shakespeare, thank you so much for coming on. We love Soundtrack to 16.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And, yeah.
I love seeing all the pictures of outdoors. It looks so cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well done
Hopefully
for
next year
organising
we'll
this
get to
festival.
come
Yeah.
and see you all.
Hope you'll come one day. Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
And please stick around for our next feature, Erotic Fire of the Unattainable, starting in just a few moments.